What's up, it's your boy Neil deGrasse Tyson on the wrong assumption everyone makes about aliens. So, what is that assumption, you might ask? You are an alien nerd. You listen to every single Joe Rogan and Lex Fridman podcast on the topic. You have also watched all the Neil deGrasse Tyson and Michio Kaku clips YouTube and TikTok can provide. You have even read most sci-fi books from the Dune to Children of Time series. And even Blindside. In your mind, there's not a thought about aliens you haven't had, right? But I assure you, good sir, you still make one assumption when it comes to aliens that is still wrong. This is an assumption that almost everyone makes. The worst offender of this is a man called Neil deGrasse Tyson. Never heard of him, but here's a clip of him making that assumption.
Hubris of us saying this advanced civilization of aliens who can cross the gaps of space are interested in us and our gonads, and they want to paint circles in our crops.
Did you get it? Did you hear the false assumption he makes? Yeah, why do aliens have to be more advanced than us to cross the gaps of space to visit us? This isn't at all necessary, and I'm gonna explain why to you in 3 points. So first of all, there is this idea that whatever civilization is able to go to the other one is more advanced. It's like we think about technological advancement like it is a Civ 5 tech tree, or even more linear than that. Because even in Civ 5 you can have research astronomy, which allows you to cross oceans, but not have research ironworking. But in real life, technology isn't at all linear. One of my favorite books is Shogun by James Clavell. It's about the first Europeans that arrived to Japan, and in the book it becomes abundantly clear that even though the Japanese are not as advanced as the Europeans when it comes to shipbuilding technology, they are much more advanced when it comes to medical technology. I mean, the Europeans thought washing yourself was bad and bloodletting was a great medical practice. Or the fact that even though the Europeans discovered the Incas, it were the Incas who had enough botanical knowledge to invent potatoes and were able to build cities on top of fucking mountains, something no European civilization could claim. So, who was more advanced? The Incas or the Europeans? The Japanese or the Europeans? It all depends on how you look at it. This is my first point. The aliens will probably not be more advanced than us in all areas. The second point is that technology needs a baseline, and the idea that humans and aliens have the same baseline is insane. Here is something what I want you to think about. What is the most basic technological innovation that underlies our modern day smartphones? Think about your smartphone's touchscreen. What absolutely basic as fuck technology needed to be invented to make that touchscreen possible? What technology is the first stack on the tech tree that eventually leads to a touchscreen? The answer to all these questions is a window. And I don't mean a window from the company which describes the state of my penis, or even the concept of that thing with glass. No, I simply mean a hole in the wall to look through. I think it is quite unlikely for aliens to develop touchscreen technology, because I think it is unlikely they will invent a window. Now, this might be a weird statement to you. You might think, this to your boy Neil deGrasse Tyson is completely crazy. Why would this guy think that aliens wouldn't invent windows? Well, I have a very simple reason for that. Out of all the different ways we know evolution can go, and if you combine this with alien evolution on other planets, in other words, all the different ways evolution can go that we don't know about, what is the likelihood aliens have eyes? And you need eyes to invent windows. This is my point. Aliens would be so different than us that to even assume that they are even able to comprehend some of the most basic technologies that we have would be insane, because what kind of technological route a species goes down is obviously massively impacted by that species' biology, and the likelihood that aliens would have kinda the same biology than us is very low, which is why calling them more technologically advanced doesn't make sense, because both groups would have invented things the other one probably can't comprehend, but also because things that might be very early on the technological route for one species will be very late for the other one. In the book Children of Time, there is a species that discovers robotics and computing before it discovers electricity, combustion, or even the wheel, because to their biology none of these concepts make sense. I am not going to spoil the book, but their perspective on technology is endlessly fascinating. But my point is, in their technological route, it was easier to figure out computing than the wheel. It might be that for aliens, visiting Earth and space travel is easier to figure out than a window. So what if we are the aliens with the wrong biology to travel a star? What if us trying to figure out space travel is like a civilization of blind people trying to navigate the seas? They can't navigate via the stars because they are blind. They can't really figure out a compass because they are blind, and it would be very difficult for them to build a boat because they are blind. What if we are the blind of spacefaring in the universe? Then here's my last and third point. Not all the elements in the universe are on Earth. There are actually 92 elements that naturally appear on Earth, and scientists have been able to create another 30. It is actually quite possible that there are still more elements to be discovered. Now it is true that these undiscovered elements are mostly heavy and therefore unstable elements. For the people who don't know, the heavier an atom gets, the more unstable it becomes, which means that it will release energy and try to change itself into a new atom. All of this causes radioactivity. But this is the reason why heavy elements are quite uncommon on Earth, and we only have been able to replicate some in a lab. But scientists predict that there is this thing with the super heavy elements called the island of stability, which basically refers to these few elements that are stable because they have something called a magic number. Now this is way too much science for me to get into, but what is important to know on the topic of aliens is A, that there's a decent possibility that some planets have some of these super heavy elements with a magic number, and B, that we have no idea what kind of properties these elements would have, which therefore would suggest that aliens have wildly different resources to us. Now this completely changes the technological advancement idea, because this would mean that aliens literally have different elements to do science with than we do from the beginning, which would change their kind of technological advancement to an insane extent. I tried thinking of an example in Earth's history which I could compare it with, but I honestly couldn't think of any. So I am just going to use a made up example. Imagine that there is a civilization on an island where there is no wood. Yep, not a single tree, branch or stick on the entire island. Can you imagine how difficult it would be for them to invent fire, let alone make a boat? Which leads me to my next point. We might just not have the resources or elements to easily reach space. We might be the civilization on the island without trees, trying to figure out desperately how to travel across the sea. These are my arguments on why everyone makes a wrong assumption on aliens. It's not that there is no chance aliens would not be more advanced than us, but to think they absolutely have to be more advanced just to reach us is just wrong. Now normally I would end the video here, but I still have some more to say, and
I'm gonna get real weird with it.
So remember the blind people example I made in my second argument, and the civilization without wood in my third argument. Imagine that you are sailing around on the ocean. If you're wondering why you would be sailing around on the ocean, it is to make those Insta photos of happy good looking people on a boat. But that is beside the point. So you are floating around on the ocean, and all of a sudden you discover an island which no other humans have ever seen and is completely uncontacted by any other humans. And you notice that the island has no trees and that all the people on the island are blind. But somehow they figured out how to kinda navigate the ocean, even though it is quite crude. And they found a way to make rocks float. Would you engage with them? And before you answer, when you observe them some more, you find out they treat each other like this. Would you interact with them? Or would you kind of observe, maybe kidnap a few, put a few things up their ass, mostly hide on the oceans when a lot of blind people can observe you and only Navy pilots might catch a glimpse of you because you're too scared they're gonna rip your face off if you make yourself known to them, and you definitely don't want to give them trees or help them figure out how to see. Basically what I'm trying to say is that if an alien civilization would be scared of us because we are more technologically advanced than them, especially when it comes to violence, but they happen to be more advanced in spacefaring, those aliens would basically interact with us the same way they are supposedly interacting with us now. So this was your boy deGrasse Tyson on the wrong assumption everyone makes about aliens. If you have any feedback, please let me know in the comments. I would love to hear it. I hope you enjoyed the video. See you later.